All right, guys, it's time for the Prep Spotlight presented by Jacobs Insurance Agency. As always, local, independent, and trusted. We'll start into boys basketball. The districts are underway. We have semifinal action coming up tonight. We're recording this on Wednesday morning in D2 at Birch Run. On Monday night, it was Clio over the host Panthers, 61-45. And in the third matchup, Owasso got Corunna again. I made it a 3-game sweep this season, 51-46. Liam Patrick really came up big down the stretch. 9-9 free throws in the fourth quarter. So tonight's schedule from Birch Run will be Mount Morris and Clio at 5:30 and Hamady against Owasso at 7. It really was a pretty good game, with all considering Owasso and Corunna the other night. First half was terrible basketball, but it was competitive, and that's all you can
ask. All that matters, man. It is what it is. Here's like with basketball and high school sports in general is there's a great phrase my dad's actually told me before. Don't make a negative out of a positive.
Right.
Sports are a positive, man. Playing basketball with your buddies, it's fun. You don't win every game. Maybe you're not the best team, but appreciate it for what it is. You're playing sports. You're having fun. Don't make it a negative. And I feel like sometimes that happens when seasons go sideways, like maybe it happened for a couple of these teams, but at the end of the day, I just enjoy it and have fun.
Yeah.
I don't know if that was maybe be preaching a little too much, that was kind of out of left field, but
it's because you just had your birthday and you're now past your college age years. So you're becoming wise.
Well, it's funny you say that too, because there's so much that goes on. And you're right on. I mean, enjoy it while you can. Basketball is such a great sport. You can just go out in the driveway and play it yourself. But, sometimes people just take things way too serious. I just saw another posting on social media. There's some controversy over at Durand again. I guess fans of the girls program, some of the parents have caused all kinds of grief on referees. I don't know if you guys saw any of that.
God's green earth. Now we're on the referee train.
Yeah, referees don't want to go ref over there because of parents right now is what the controversy is.
It's like you guys, we've been doing this podcast long enough. We know each other well enough. Like, I usually, in our debates, our conversations, I usually fall in the middle. Most things, it seems like people are like so extreme right now, one way or the other.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, okay, refs aren't going to be perfect. And if the refs are absolutely blowing calls, clearly making one-sided calls, like just clearly botching the game, sure, get on them, but you can still do it in like a respectful way, I don't think that's what's probably happening. Maybe they've missed a couple calls here and there. That's going to happen. These aren't full-time professional referees. These are men or women making $40 a game or whatever, doing it as a part-time side hustle gig.
Dude.
So if it's not clear that they're just blowing it, take it easy, because now you're making it about you. Like you guys just said, these are high school kids living the dream, playing a sport with the friends that they grew up with, best time of their lives type of stuff. And now the parents are making it about themselves and putting the spotlight on them to the point. Are you being like serious? Like refs don't want to ref Durand games? Is it that extreme?
100%.
Oh, geez.
According to the social media post, which was legit since it came from the Durand girls basketball coach.
Jeez. So now you can't even get refs to ref your games.
What is their record? It's not like they're going to go on to, march the state title and cut down the net. It's like, what? They're just a solid team, have some fun. And that's what I'm talking about. A positive into a negative.
Well,
enjoy the goddamn sport and root on your team. And believe me, the refs are not that bad.
Right. Well, I've been on that bandwagon for a long time, man. Parents are the problem in high school sports. I mean, and high schools in general, whether it be athletics, whether it be what's going on in the classroom. We just saw another little controversy at Corunna. I'm not going to get into that, but just parents just need to chill out just a little bit, man. You trust these people to educate your kids. You trust them to coach them. If they're completely out of whack, then you go see the athletic director first, or actually talk to the coach first or the teacher. And if you're not getting the answer you need, then if you're civil about it, go handle it the way you need to and take it up the ladder. But this stuff about everybody is so brave on social media. That's the thing, man. It's just ridiculous. They won't go talk to somebody face to face, but they'll post a negative thing.
Yep.
Easy as can be. Wow.
Yeah.
I went off on a tangent there.
No,
Didn't
so
mean
I
to.
just have
it's spot on.
I just have one little like story that I remember when you were talking about the refs, like when you said that. So I remember, and Ted, you probably were calling this game, I would think. So
Probably.
my brother Johnny's senior year, they had a good team. Like I think they went 18-2 or something like that. Won the CAAC
Yeah.
White with Lansing Catholic and all those teams. Had a very good
Right.
team. And they were playing Flint Southwestern with Miles Bridges he was a sophomore at the time. So they're very good too. In a great game, back and forth. It was at Goodrich's gym. And it comes down to like the very last play. I think Corona's down 1 point. And they run a perfect, Valpo play where they, basketball court toss, like maybe 2 seconds on the clock. The player catches it, goes up to like lay it up for the win, gets literally hounded. And the ball like doesn't even go more than like 3 feet off the ground because he couldn't even muster the strength because he got hounded so bad on this foul. Time expires. Refs don't call anything. It's a packed house gym.
I remember.
Fans are going nuts. These refs have to get off the court. And I'm kidding you. It's literally like it was like a riot was breaking out as these refs are running off the court. All the Corona fans are getting in this guy's face, reaming him. Can't believe he didn't make the call. And he just luckily got away into the locker room and probably stayed in there for about like 2 hours as if it was waiting for that crowd to clear out. Do you remember that? I mean, that was,
Yeah.
I don't want to blame refs, but that was one where I was like, wow,
Right.
This was literally a season ending call.
That's the extreme side where it's fair. Yeah, you don't want to like physically abuse them,
No,
but
it was
that's fair,
guys.
right? That sounds like a fair one to complain about. It sounds like Ted, you remember it.
Yeah, and I might have to go back to the archives and see how I called it too. I do have a little Corona blood, so we'll see.
Dig up that game broadcast. Honestly, I would like to listen to that.
Okay, I'll do that. I'll put that on my list, and I definitely will do that.
Yeah, my experience real quick. I know we're getting on some side tangents with Prep Spotlight, but this is all related to the Prep Spotlight.
Sure.
I at some point in college, I became an official, a registered MHSAA umpire, and because I thought I would do that, as my like side gig. I umpired like my whole time summer baseball, like back in Corona. That's what I would do during like high school summer break. I would umpire with some friends, summer little league and stuff like that. So I had a ton of experience, but there was one game I was doing, and this was actually in Corona, and there was a guy who had been umping his whole life, a guy that everyone knew in the area. He'd umpired a ton of games. He was sitting behind the backstop, basically watching. I don't know if he was like, seeing how good I was or whatever, but I was calling balls and strikes for a game. And I'll be honest, I was a little nervous. I was a little like, man, I got to be on this, And at one point, like in between one innings, I was hearing it from some parents and stuff. Oh, come on, Blue, those kind of things. He like pulled me aside and was like, listen, what you're hearing right now is very tame. This is going to get much worse. He was like, the main thing. And I was like, do you think I'm doing all right? And he said, he's like, maybe you've missed a couple calls, but you're being consistent. And he was like, that is the main thing you can ask for. Just be consistent. If you want a low strike zone, keep it low. If you want a high strike, keep it high. And that was like, and obviously I didn't like go on to become a professional umpire, but for me in that moment, I was like, geez, because I thought I was about to start getting reamed by these parents. So yeah,
being an umpire is the worst of them all, man. You're right. Those fans are right on you, and you make a decision every 2 seconds. There's no hiding. And it's also you and maybe one other. Sometimes it's you by yourself. Right. Basketball, you got 2-3 other officials with you to kind of handle some of the blowback. But I feel bad. Yeah. Did you ever really get reamed as an umpire?
Honestly, like when I started doing JV and varsity games, not as bad as when I did summer Little League. Little League, those parents would be so mad. I'd be like, listen, your kid can't even throw the ball. So yes, my strike zone is going to be this big, so we can all get the hell out of here.
You're going to be there for 5 hours, man.
Right.
Anyway. Again, parents, chill out. Let your kids just play the game, okay? Yep. It's not professional sports. Continuing on with district action, it's Durand and Williamston tonight at 5:30 and a D2 at Fowlerville. Linden and Hazlitt on the other side at 7. Swan Valley, you got Freeland taking on Bullock Creek tonight. And Swan Valley against Alma. Falcons finished the regular season at 18-3, down in Bridgeport 68-59 last Friday as Wilson Huckabee hit for 23. It's going to be interesting to watch the Falcons in the tournament. I'm definitely going to go check out some action. I was trying to decide, should I go to if they make it to the district championship or maybe just start out in the regionals. I'm still weighing that out.
Well, I love that you're counting the blessings, already getting ready for the regionals. We can do that as observers and as fans.
Yeah.
I'm going on Friday. I would say
Okay.
they're going to be favorites in all their districts games, but you know how it goes. You never know what can happen. So yeah, Swan Valley, who I think they've beaten already twice this year, but they're no slouch. So I think that's who they would most likely face on Friday. And then they have Bullock Creek tonight. So most people will be listening to that probably after they've already played that game. But yeah, it's the best time of year, man, for basketball. This is where if you're a basketball coach, you're jealous almost of these guys, like that they get to get prepped for a little mini March Madness, pretty much. It's a pretty cool tournament we have.
I will be having my stamina check tonight, fellas, as I get to do a doubleheader game over at New Lothrop. 5:30, it's Ovid-Elsie and New Lothrop, the host team, and then I'll follow up with Langsburg and Bath. Couple good conference matchups there in district semifinal action. You can hear both of them tonight on Z92.5 starting around 5:30. And again, this is Wednesday. We're recording this. The other one we're looking at, Chesaning. We tried to line up their head coach, Matt Weigel, but he had school duties to take care of this morning. But he has a game tonight against Montrose. The winner of that game will take on the winner of Ithaca and Hemlock, which is a 7 o'clock game. So Chesaning's really been a great story.
Done a great job.
Awesome job. I mean, last Friday they downed Birch Run by 20. Luke Barta and Max Volk had 12 each. The Indians won their 3rd straight conference championship, 4th out of the last 5 years. That's
he's done a really good job.
Impressive. Absolutely.
Yep.
Also, couple of quick things in girls basketball. Ovid-Elsie over Byron. Geez, a scary score, 73-70, or 73-10 rather. And
quite a difference.
Quite a difference. I'm looking at a 1 thinking it's a 7. And then Chesaning over Birch Run, 47-44. Lydia Tiedoff had 22 points and 16 rebounds. That's not a bad night of basketball right there. And finally, in the prep spotlight, this, I guess, still qualifies. Both of Corunna teams took first place in Odyssey of the Mind regionals February 22nd. They move on to the state finals March 22nd at Thornapple Kellogg. They got quite a program there. I mean, I would never have been qualified to be an Odyssey of the Mind. I mean, I might qualify for an odd mind, but they really got a nice little program going there, don't they?
Well, I mean, the multiple world championships you see on the sign when you're driving into Corunna. And I remember I don't know, was it around when you were in school, Ted?
No.
Yeah, I feel like when I was coming through like elementary school is when it maybe was around, but it was starting. And I remember some friends trying to get involved and stuff like that. But it obviously has continued, and they're still really good at it. You have to have a creative
titles, man.
Yeah,
that's right.
If you're winning world championships, I think you're doing something right. I was going to mention too, friend of the podcast, former Corunna Cavalier, Kyle Clough. Yep. He's the head coach at Rockford. Last I checked, I mean, you guys might be fact check me. They're ranked like number 3 in the state, so he's got
a
heck of a program over there. They start their run tonight. I think I saw they play Mona Shores in their district tonight.
Yeah, and then I believe Greenville is on the other side of their district, and they're very good as well, maybe 19-2. The east side of the state is nuts when it comes to basketball, really any sport.
West side.
Or west side, not east side.
Yeah.
Both sides, but west side.
East side too.
And what's special about Rockford is, I mean, I think their best player is a freshman, and he's been lighting it up. He's a stud. I wish I knew his name off the top of my head, but something tells me that they're going to have a good chance at making a run to the Breslin this year and probably the next 4 years. So they're a very good program and a very good team. And we're rooting for them, man. I'd love to see them there.
Good for Kyle.
Cool. Different division than Freeland? Are they?
Rockford's Rockford might be the biggest school in the state.
Yeah. Okay. I couldn't think if Freeland was the same size. But we'll be keeping an eye on both those teams. I was going to mention too, before we sign off the prep spotlight, one of my buddies that I grew up with, he wrestled at Corunna. So, and I had other friends that wrestle too. So I'd always keep tabs on wrestling and the program. And he sometimes will send me notes about like crazy wrestling stories. So he sent me one recently, last night. Dundee made a run and won a team state championship. They're 12th since 2007, he said, and they're 8th in a row. 8 straight state championships as a team. But he sent me the scores through their run to a state championship. They basically didn't give up any points. every team, every round, they like shut out the other team. And like one of the rounds, I think they gave up like 5 points, but otherwise it was like 0-0-0-0. And he's like, he basically said, like, you don't see dominance like that. Like every weight class beating their opponent. That's just insane to think about, that kind of dominance. And then he said too, he lives over on the west side near Lowell, and he said Lowell won their 11th state championship in a row in wrestling. And I remember, when I was over on the west side, Lowell back then, their football program was crazy dominant, but wrestling too. I just can't imagine going up against a program like, if you're, you believe in yourself, you're confident if you're their opponents, but like you almost feel like, wow, like, what are we doing? We have no shot. Like, I guess I'll go out there and give it my best, but that kind of stuff is just crazy.
I've been there, man. It's funny you mentioned Dundee. So I wrestled one year, and my older brother Josh wrestled one year. I remember like they had a meet against Dundee, and it's like this Corunna team of ragtag guys are getting ready to face Dundee. It was like 50 wrestlers. I just remember they got mauled in that meet. And then I remember I've told the story on this podcast before where we were going against St. John's, who at the time was like a top 10 nationally ranked program. Mm-hmm. And to warm up, they took up the entire mats at Owasso, like 100 wrestlers. And Coach Clough, RIP, he's honestly a very good dude. He was our wrestling coach, and he pulled me aside. I'm nervous, I'm seriously like shitting bricks about this wrestling match. I'm gonna go against some kid that's like a freaking state champion, national title contender in this packed Owasso gym. You can remember they have 100 wrestlers. He pulls me aside and he goes, "Hey, yeah, I know they got a lot of guys, but nobody met their criteria to wrestle you. So everybody on my team got their butts whooped, and I just got to sit back and like watch and like basically eat popcorn and enjoy this." He had my back in that. Just like the look on his face when he told me that, he knew it was like he was telling me I just won the lottery. Like it was hilarious. So.
It was like he was Santa Claus, and you were like some little kid wishing for a bike. Yeah.
Because how it works is you don't know basically you get called when you're on deck. So you're just sitting there like, oh God, like I could be called at any moment to get ready to go and wrestle. And he called my name and went, oh shoot. Then he pulled me close. He's like, hey, you're not wrestling, man. I couldn't find anybody for you. It's one of my favorite sports memories, man. As sad as that sounds.
You didn't lose. That's the best part.
But no, I mean, I've never heard of Dundee. It's funny. I didn't know Dundee was a program like that. Like you mentioned Lowell. I knew about Lowell.
Right.
Lowell is funny because you mentioned how they're a football program. You wonder why they're both football and wrestling. They had the deans roll through.
Yeah.
Noel Dean, Dave Dean, all of them were, all-American wrestlers and basically all-American football players that carried that school for about 10 years. Right. There was like 4 or 5 of them, each one coming through every 3 years or so that were very good.
It's funny, schools that have powerful wrestling programs usually have decent football programs as well. It goes hand in hand.
I honestly think I've been thinking about this. Like, I'm not that I'm having kids tomorrow. I'll have kids maybe some point in my life. We'll see. But right. I genuinely think wrestling is about as good of a molder of a football player as you can have. Like I think about me and what I was lacking. It's that toughness. It's the the grit, the loving of contact. Jim Harbaugh, shout out. Mm-hmm. You get that from wrestling. Yeah, and you get that from wrestling when you start it and you're 5 years old. You love tackling. You love rolling around and in physical hits. So I do think that there is something to be said about exactly what you said, Ted. It's a big correlation, and I agree.
Yeah.
Well, it's the mental part of wrestling. It's you against one other person. Like you just said, Jared, you were about to go up you on your own against a national championship wrestler. It's not a team sport. Yes, there's team competition, but yeah, you learn a lot. And I feel like you're starting to see that. I mean, the biggest one, Mason Graham, the Michigan player who's about to go. There's been plenty of other ones, but you're starting to see more and more people say like the value and growing up wrestling and that translating to the football field. And our son, he's only 3, but the dude, Wesley, is jumping off stuff and throwing stuff, and he's just tackling his sister and wrestling his sister, and he's all boy. And I've told my wife, I'm like, I think we might need to get him into wrestling at some point. He needs something.
Even if it's just like the formative years, like 4, 5, 6, 7, maybe when he gets to the age and he's playing basketball, like build that physical contact comfortability at a young age.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Not like parenting and coaching advice for me, but that's what I've thought about before.
Well, as a parent, I'm sure you're looking at it also. He needs to burn off some energy, right?
That too. Yes, that too.
All right, boys. Good prep spotlight. Good job presented by Jacobs Insurance Agency. And we'll talk a little other sports right after this on 3 Point Podcast.
Jacobs Insurance Agency has served Shiawassee County and the surrounding areas since 1977. Just like 3 Point Podcast, we've had 3 generations: Gary Jacobs Sr., Gary Jacobs II, Brian Jacobs, and myself, Noah Jacobs, serving our community with offices in Waterford and Owasso on M21, just west of Home Depot. Stop in or go online to jacobsinsurance.com to get a quote or get your questions answered by our team. Jacobs Insurance is a proud supporter of our local schools and the proud sponsor of the Prep Spotlight. Insure everything, local, independent, and trusted. It's our family working together to protect yours. That's the Jacobs way.